That's kind of a difficult one because, first of all, we're talking about children and kind of their circumstances. Could be a bunch of different circumstances involved. 2 weeks is kind of excessive, and I know that that's generally not the norm. However, there are rules, and rules need to be followed. But that's a good one. I didn't know it was 2 weeks long, so I'm going to ask about that too.
Okay, Michael.
From my work on the board of City of Providence, I know that attendance is very important to learning outcomes with students, and extended suspensions do, I would view, harm student ability to learn, keeping them in the classroom is the best. I think we have to have discrete policies and procedures and reevaluate the policies and procedures in this day and age. I'm not sure when the suspension policy was written, but coming in as Ward 1's representative, I would look at that and ensure that we align kind of incentives and best practices to make sure that any type of suspension would align with more positive outcomes for students at the end.
Paul?
Do I have to take some time just to repeat that question?
Absolutely. In the high school level, there are students who are suspended for a 2-week period. Do you think this is a good discipline option affecting their academic careers?
I don't like that. I think we'll be more beneficial on that student if you'd somehow come to school but kind of be segregated in a different area of the school and given his lessons by the teachers. I think if you suspend a student that long, he's going to fall behind in his studies. So I'd be opposed with 2-week suspension.
Sarah?
I think that first we'd have to ask a number of questions, like how many children are being given those suspensions that are that long. 2 weeks does seem excessive to me, but then again, you do have to look at the conduct, whatever conduct the student is alleged to have done. And I think you also need to compare it with precedent. Perhaps there's precedent in the school. Certain conduct gives you certain amounts of suspension, but 2 weeks does seem excessive.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, Trev, let Vin answer because you were ready. 60 seconds.
Okay, so as the Dean of Students in my current job at Bristol Mount Hope, I think it's important to understand that my job particularly is to make sure teachers can teach and to ensure that students can learn. So sometimes, and we don't know why this student that you're referring to is suspended for 2 weeks, but I think what's more important is so you have the behavior which comes with a consequence of suspension. By the way, suspension is a last resort, but what's important after the behavior, after the suspension, if that's the case, is how you rectify the problem. And I think that's the piece that's missing that people have to remember. But again, teachers need to be able to teach, and students need to be able to learn. So sometimes it does happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Depending upon the severity of the problem, if it's going to be a 2-week suspension, in most cases, home tutoring is provided by the school department, or they are sent to the open education school, the charter school, and they're provided education there. And when they're ready to join the school community again, that's a decision that the superintendent will make.